Hello, YouTube fam. How y'all doing? It's your Uncle Tim. This is Uncle Tim Rants and Reviews, a channel where I rant and I review. I'm your host, Uncle Tim. A lot of people ask, hey, your wife had basically put her foot down. What does that mean? I'm going to explain something to you. It doesn't completely shut down the collecting. What happened was, and I'm going to explain something to you. Most of my money was spent on, like second and third party, eBay, whatnot, AliExpress, Big Bad Toy Store Entertainment, Earth, Super 7 website, Walmart.com, Target.com. Those particular sites, and I think a lot of people misinterpret a lot of things, those particular sites, you don't really see that stuff opposed to the store stuff that you buy. The store stuff, you look at receipts and you can see everything that you spent. But for another person looking, they don't know what you spent. And majority of the money that I spent came off of those places online. So my wife said, in order to just, whittle this down, we're going to do, whereas it's just Ross, Ollie's, Didi's discount, Target and Walmart, long as it's brick and mortar. It could be Walgreens. But she said the thing is that I'm looking at, you spent less in those stores. And maybe that will be a turning point for all of this. As I sit back and I pay attention and understand, man, because it's not that the spending is reckless like a lot of people may think it is. It's not. It's budgeted. I budget what I'm going to spend. But my budget is different from everybody's budget. And I keep explaining that. I don't know why do I have to keep explaining it. But we all don't budget the same way, and our pockets are not all the same. And I'm not saying that my pockets is deeper or anything like that. I'm just saying I know what I got to spend. After all the bills are set, after, everything goes to, rainy day or this or vacation fund or, some other fund we got going on, you left with a little money for yourself. And, like I said, sometimes you don't spend that money in that week. Sometimes you hold it to the next week. Or maybe sometimes that, a lot of people don't understand. There's other stuff popping off too that a lot of people don't see. My thing is, collecting is a situation whereas you can completely lose control. You can have shit coming in almost every day, and that's what it was. It looked like stuff was just coming every day. Like I told my wife, the last thing was this Master Chief helmet right here. And, as I look at it, man, is it a wrong move, a right move? Is it a move that, I need to reflect on and see, which better steps I could take? Maybe. But I'm going to tell you one thing, and that's something that you all should take a look at. And I'm going to be honest. Be true to yourself about how much you're spending and knowing how to take constructive criticism and how to, like, achieve different goals. People are like, that was the reason why you couldn't buy a house. No, it wasn't. That wasn't the reason why I couldn't buy a house. There were other reasons. Shit, we were being outbidded. Shit. If you're approved for a certain amount, you can't go higher than that. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. You can put your personal savings in, but that's something you don't want to do. You got the down payment, that's one thing. But, also being approved is a whole nother thing. And see, people do not understand or realize that's separate. That's over there. I was talking about buying a car. That money is over there. That has nothing to do with here or there. This is why you save money for things. I'm not saying that, I could go out and buy a car tomorrow. No, I'm just saying I got something for a down payment if I, shit, may not be a really big down payment for right now, but this is why we working. This is why we building up to something. See, this is where people don't understand things. They don't see things. They don't see the full picture. They only see what's going on in their life and, how it's affecting them. Like I said, a lot of people judge your life based on what they're going through in their life. And, we're not all the same people. We're not all experiencing the same thing. We're experiencing different things in different situations. And this is why our lives look so different. Maybe if you had my problems, your life would be a little different. If I had your problems, maybe my life would be a little different. All our problems, if, given to somebody else, might be easy. You'd be like, this is your only problem? Shit, I could do that. Or, you look at my problems, you be like, man, these ain't really no damn problems. I could deal with that. This is how life works. And I was just looking at all the stuff that I collected over a period of time. I'm grateful for everything that I have. I'm appreciative of everything I have, man. You hear me talk about being appreciative all the time. It's not like nothing is ever enough. That ain't what this about, bro. This is what this channel is based on, toys. We bring new toys into the mix. If you don't have nothing new coming in, people be like, man, what we doing here? And this is where this goes. This is a toy channel. So this is why we got toys. This is why situations jump off the way they do. They jump off different. You got to have something you building here. I'm building, slowly but surely, I'm building something. Yeah. But this year, I'm going to be honest with you. Once I really cut out Target and Walmart, far as, being the only places I look for stuff, man, going into places like Ross, DD's, and Ollie's, man, and, you find stuff all the time, but when you find stuff, it's like, man, it's affordable. And see, that's what I'm looked at as the affordable collector, and this is what people look at me like, man, man, I'm collecting, but I see how he collecting, and, I could do that. Dude, you want somebody where you can say, I could do that. I don't want to see somebody collecting $1,000 toys, knowing damn well that ain't me. I don't want to collect $1,000 toy. I don't want to buy a $500 toy. Hell, I don't really want to buy a $250 toy. People are like, hey, which much money as you spent, just say on the turtles alone, bro, you could have just had that already. You could have had like 2 or 3 of them, but that ain't what I want. I don't want 1-6 figures, man. I don't want giant figures in a room. It's not appealing to me. In my space needs to have what it needs. And you know what? I'm happy with what I collect. I'm happy with what I show on this channel. I'm happy with where we're headed. I enjoy the Funko Pops. Like I said, I used to pay like $15 for them. Then, Marshall started getting them for like $7. And, $6, $7, that was pretty good for me. I get some every now and then. Then I had stopped doing Target and Walmart with Pops altogether. Then I ran into Ross, and they just had Funko Pops everywhere, man. And hell, that's how I grew my Funko Pop collection. Now, my Funko Pop collection was pretty extensive before, but now it's just like, damn, it's a wall of it now. And, that was with the help of Ross. Like I said, I stopped spending big pieces of money, but also eBay is a killer. Like I told you, if stuff was costing like $70, people were sending me offers for $35. Man, you know what? Gone are those days where people will be like, if the item's 75, I'm gonna send them offer for $72.50. Nah, people trying to move that shit up out of there, they sending it to you for $35. And I know you like, but why would they do that? If you've been sitting on shit for a very long time and you ain't had no bites anywhere, what you gonna do? You want to sell your stuff. You want to move on. You want to get you something else. You want to enjoy your life. You want to keep progressing. You get what I mean? And that's the biggest thing in this world, is to progress, to move forward, man. Man. Dude, that's the thing that a lot of people don't get. That's the fun part of all of this, man. Collecting, the fun part of it is knowing where you were going wrong at and how to fix it. I was spending big money at Target and Walmart, action figures like DC Multiverse and Marvel Legends, or, or whatever else they had, the Funko Pops, man. And I'm like, I'm paying full price for every damn thing, 25, but they all 25, so that's about cool, And, DC Multiverse was 20 at the time, and I'm like, oh, man, I'm okay. Builder figures are 25, I'm like, oh, okay with this, I'm good. And, dude, after a while, when, Ollie's, Ross, and DD's jumped into the picture, man, I started backing up from all those big pieces. Spending all those $50 and $75 on G.I. Joe Classified. I bought 3 figures. I'm happy and stuff. And I'm like, I just spent $75 on 3 toys. Dude, that didn't make me feel good. It made me feel like, what the fuck? What just happened here? Am I living in La La Land? And then I realized, I said, man, you got to get better. You got to find a way to make your situation work for you. You got to find toys for cheap, and eBay was selling me cheap stuff. But like I said, it adds up. And that's the thing, over a period of time, once it was all broken down and I looked through all of these lists, I said, damn. Dude, I was so upset. Like I said, but hindsight is one thing, man. Last year, it was expensive too. This is why I say you have to look at these things. I know a lot of people say, man, how is it that, you filing toys on your taxes? How is that possible? That's not even legal. Who told you that? YouTube. If I didn't have these toys, nobody will watch. If I didn't buy toys to show you all, you wouldn't watch. Even the people that watch me, do, the review on stuff, maybe it may not be a lot of people, but you're here for that. And you're here for the rants, but the rants are just one thing. It's the toys that bring people in, the background that brings people in. That makes people want to say, oh, this is a toy channel. I get it. He talking about toys. Yeah. You can't claim everything, but you can claim some things. You get a percentage of things, man. At the end of the day, man, it all works itself out. That's how I look at it. But to later, peace out.